So Dazzle, take over, Mr. Ranking. Take over the show this
Good morning, Mike. Good morning, Masana. Good morning, listeners.
Morning.
Today we have with us Marvelon, Stixx, Michelle, the great drummer, right? The history maker, digital ambassador, right?
Toying with the Marlies.
You know. So for all those who don't know, Stixx was featured in Dazzle issue 17, and he's come a long way. He is a professional drummer. From the age of 18, he made up his mind to be a professional drummer. That's what he wanted to do in his life, right? And he promoted himself, right, in a remarkable way. Just having a discussion with him a while ago, he's one of the first individuals I remember on social media, Instagram, Facebook, showcasing his skills, and wasn't really showing off. It was more or less marketing himself. So from at that stage, he understood the importance of branding. All right, because of his consistency online, he was discovered by Lamar Brown, aka Riff Raff, and Lamar is the keyboardist for Stephen Marley, right? And from there, it was history. They met up, they had a few conversations, and before you knew it, Stixx was the drummer for one of the Marleys. I think it's what's his name?
Joe Musa Marley.
Right? Marley. He also did a lot of backing records in studio for Sprague Benz and some others. He also, I think, he won the reggae cruise on the Norwegian.
The Jamrock.
The Jamrock cruise. Right, and he also and he played alongside people like with entertainers like Popcorn, Taras Riley, Chandy Stevens, Bushman, etc. So we have Stixx here, you know, to just tell us a lot more about what he's done, where he is now, because he's in St. Lucia for a while, but as a St. Lucian, being very serious about his career and taking it to the next level, and also being scouted by international artists, you know, that is amazing. So we'd like to know what's, you know, Stixx, how is it going?
Thanks for hanging out with us, Marvelon.
Give us an update. We see you all the time on social media with Digital, you know.
Oh, definitely. That's Digital is definitely not a local company in St. Lucia, but it's the only endorsement that I have that's actually home based. So all my other 8 other endorsements are actually in the United States. So when I come back home, you know, I get to fully be one-on-one like with the company, because sometimes I'm always, you know, doing everything from my phone because I'm out. So when I come back, you know, there are events, and it's, you know, it's just an amazing thing for me to be home and interact, not just with customers who come to the store, but I mean a lot of people as the ambassadors, like when I meet up with like friends of mine from the other, you know, how do I say it? In a different niche, like Darren, he's a cricketer, sports. Then we have like Scotty, Keydell. These guys are also radio personalities, and I'm a musician. We're all different. So when we meet up, it's a connection, you know, and we just figure out, you know, we're promoting or endorsing something that we believe in. So, and Digital is just one of that. And I don't move without my phone. So
it's a smart partnership between the two, because you use your phone mostly for everything.
Being on the go is very important. I've been moving around, and I'm very thankful to be a part of, you know, the Digital family, because being home, I mean, connectivity is very important. Most of the people that I work with or I'm in contact with are not from St. Lucia. So it's very important that, you know, I'm connected. So, I mean, that's just one of the main things. So in honoring part of my contract, which is a good thing on the business end, I have to devote time. And balance is one of the most important things.
For you.
So.
Well, let's throw it back. Stixx, because I went to school with Stixx. we were part of the Edgeworth Secondary Steel Pan.
Definitely.
I remember he sneaking, going on the drums, and he telling Stixx, move there, go on a pan. Stixx sticking behind his drums. And I would have never imagined this is where you would have gotten from playing drums. So let's go back to how it all started, because you always had a love for the drums.
Yeah, definitely. When we met, in the Panyard, right? It was, I'll be honest, and I don't know how many people could ever say this, but the pan was very difficult for me in terms of, I don't know how you guys remember the notes, but I know that, like, the rhythm and everything, you have to have that natural feel to, you know, recreate the music. But remembering the notes, like, on the different pans, you had to understand the instrument. So first of all, I knew I didn't understand the instrument, but then that day when Joel, he was the drummer, the cadet guy, he had this cadet camp, and there was no way that the band can play without a drummer. I was like, you know what, Mr. Lewis is not here, let me jump behind that thing. And the next thing you know, that just felt a lot easier than having to, I mean, being a drummer, you have to hit so many different things, but the pan has notes. Drums is not notes, it's tones and textures, and it was more of my niche, you know, for me to actually hear and feel, you know, in terms of tones and textures. So I think that's when I realized, like, okay, it's not just easier, I'm better at doing this. So
it felt more natural.
And as I mean, as bad as I was at the time, because I was horrible then, very horrible, but you know, I figured putting in time, and I think over a period of time, one of the things that have worked significantly for me is my work ethic, and how hard, you know, I have had to work, and I've had to sacrifice a lot, you know, in terms of, you know, friendships and very close relationships, personal things, and you know, that's one of the most painful things. But at the end of the day, you know, I mean, that's not anybody's burden, that's just for me. So the only thing that I can keep doing is just keep working as hard as I can, and you know, I know what I want to accomplish, and I know, despite we all St. Lucians and we from a beautiful island of 238 square miles, I've, you know, been blessed to travel the world and see what's out there, and it's not a game out there, you know. I have so many other friends in the music business, and they had to explain to me, no matter what, you know, you can't take this thing for granted. So when I started it, I was exposed to people who let me know that, hey, if you don't do this the right way, you're not gonna eat. And as long as you understand that, if you not putting in the time or devoting that attention to whatever you have to do, you know, you can survive. And I've been, you know, thankful to be doing this for the past 16 years. So it's been a long...
I feel old.
Yeah.
I feel old.
So when I meet, like now, you know, a lot of people, especially I'm coming back home, a lot of people through, you know, some of the local sites. I have friends like Lamar who has Verve and Zuvo, and we've been friends for, like, we known each other from preschool, like all James, all these guys, Jesse. So all of us are like young guys in our field, but we've been doing whatever we've been doing for a long time. So I mean, when you have followers on the local scene who will actually just meet you, or they've seen you or heard about you, but they've never met you, and they're like, oh, you're such a young man. I mean, I'm not an old guy, but I've been, my career is kind of like, I've been doing it like a little over half my life. So it's been a long time, you know. So, I mean, to just keep at this level is not something that I just want to do. I have to keep working excessively hard, because every step is a lot more difficult than the last one, and it requires a lot more. And sometimes you just don't know, you know, what's going to happen next. You can never say how everything is going to happen, but based on past experiences, most of them have been fall down sometimes, but that has allowed me to be the person that I am today.
Right.
So moving forward, you know how you can definitely, you know, make a better decision or take time to think about the things. You know, I've been blessed to be home for a few months where now I've, you know, had the opportunity to just see my dad every day. And that has been one of the most amazing things for me, because I've been away for so long, and, you know, my dad is 81 now, and so you're cherishing the moments you have now. And he's always telling me, don't rush into anything, you know, things are happening fast, but, you know, just take the time. And you know, so I'm just definitely doing that.
Nice.
Yeah.
Now I have to give kudos to Dazzle magazine ranking, because I think your team is so I wouldn't say strategic, but you guys always seem to hit the nail on the head with the persons that you feature on your magazine. Now, Stixx was featured in issue 17, you say.
Yeah, issue 17.
And the magazine, people tend to just assume you would focus on entrepreneurs and people that have built a business for themselves and stuff like that. But he is a musician. He's a drummer.
Yeah.
And he somewhat has the same story with everybody.
Yes. So what we try to bring out is that we feature progressive individuals in St. Lucia, right? Those who contribute into St. Lucia's economy, no matter what
the profession or
profession is,
industry,
right? We do professionals, right? We do entertainers, right? And of course the entrepreneurs, right? What we want to do, and we continuously do, is more or less try to inspire individuals, not through just our story, but through their stories. You know, we have a lot of musicians out there, you know, who probably think, all right, the cruise ship circuit is the only way to go. All right. Yes, Stixx did a cruise ship, you know, but you know, we saw beyond that, right? He's very passionate. He was never complacent. Always practice, you know, no matter where he is. You know, sometimes I see Stixx bring his drum sets in locations as like, how? You know, but he made it happen. He practices. I remember one time he contacted me and said, boy, Rankin, I need to do a photo shoot, you know, with my complete drum set. And I was like, in my head, like, what?
Where we fit in that?
You know? So it's like, I need a photographer, whatever. And I introduced him to this guy. And I think you guys did it at
Jonathan, we did one of them at the Dennery waterfall. Then we did one at the car park. We did one at the abandoned building. So I work it different through ranking. Like, one thing about Dazzle, that amazed me, and despite it being a magazine and me being a musician, I spoke to Rankin, because Rankin and I have been friends we both went to Chicago. It's like a long story. And,
big up.
Yeah. So, you know, but when I looked at, you know, my career kind of started professionally, and I started getting a lot of attention after the social media thing, you know, blasted. But ranking, you know, I got contacted by many magazines, but one of them, Dazzle, stood out, and then eventually I found out it was Rankin and I. So I was like, you know, Rankin and I, we started reasoning. I was like, yo, how did you manage to get this thing to work? And it was just not just overnight, but he set up the Dazzle magazine to show that sort of excellence. You know, it stands out. It's in its own lane. You know, it doesn't cater to compete with anything. It's catered to its clientele. So seeing Rankin do that with a magazine, I was like, yo, you know, you can actually do this with yourself. So when I contacted Rankin about, you know, the photographer and all that, he's like, yo, if I need to get a photographer, we're going to need time. And I was like, it's not that Rankin cannot do that, but it just gave me enlightenment to just let me understand that, yo, this magazine is actually in motion 24 hours a day. So then obviously I got in touch with other photographers who actually, and a lot of photographers actually reach out to me on Instagram, because every photographer needs a model to showcase their work. And I understood that I needed a photographer to capture my work.
Exactly.
So I started this thing where I worked with local photographers here, like Alan Cherry, you know, Royan Descartes. Royan is in Germany right now.
Wow.
And you know, I even worked at Brandon, who's here. You know, we started in the studio up SLU, and that studio was one of the great opportunities that I had when we did remix with Jimmy Morgan. We did Shakers and Movers. We did a drum cover to that, and also when Marshall and Bungie did Bushead, Dwight, the guitarist Dwight. Dwight did an arrangement. He's like, bro, what would you be able to do with that? And I was like, yo, just let me take a listen to it. And you know, I always, you know, saw like the talent in terms of what Dwight was doing, and I was same advice that was given to me. I told Dwight, yo, just be patient, and when the door comes and it opens, you're gonna walk through that door. Don't rush. He's like, yo, the ship, I said, Dwight, don't rush to go on the ship, because it's not the ship is a bad thing, it's a stepping stone. But you know, and now Dwight is, you know, because
who is he with now?
Morgan Heritage.
Because before that door opened, I actually knew before he did.
But you didn't let the cat out of the bag.
Yeah, because you can't, you know, when you're starting, what you want to, you don't want to get your opportunity and you're not ready. That's the worst thing. Most people want to rush, but there's no reason to rush. You know, you have to acquire as much information, as much knowledge as you can, because if you don't have any wisdom or knowledge on what you're doing, you're just going to fail when that opportunity comes. And the first initiation is one of the most important things.
Now I have two questions for you.
Sure.
One, like you said, you have to be ready when opportunity knocks.
Yeah.
At what point did you say to yourself, because you did say when you started out you were horrible on the drums, and look at you now.
Still kind of horrible.
Yeah, sure. At what point did you say to yourself, because I'm sure everybody experiences some sort of self-doubt. No matter what you're doing, there are times where you may say, well, maybe I'm not really ready to do this. Maybe this is not for me and I should hold back still. At what point were you able to say, this big opportunity to work with the Marleys came to you? How did you say, okay, I can do this, I am ready to take this on? How were you able to find that within yourself and execute?
I was able to do it, but it didn't happen when I just, it wasn't like one day I just decided, I'm going to play with these guys. There were a certain set of events that happened, and I remember it was in, I think, like 2014, end of 2014. I was finishing up a contract because I had my band. We were doing ships at the time. And the band was amazing, but personally for me, I got to a point where I'd done ships in different phases, where I started in somebody's band and I moved to playing with my friends, and then I had my own band. So from being a band member to becoming a band leader and understanding the responsibilities and, having other people on your shoulder, it wasn't a burden for me or in something that, but the band allowed me to realize that it wasn't just individuals. When you have a band, it needs to be one accord, one sound, but everybody has different mental path. Everybody wants to acquire different things for themselves. So at that time, we all wanted to, we had a break coming up, and we all wanted to take care of a few personal things. And even when we got back to St. Lucia, all the musicians were really good musicians, like O'Neill Joseph, Dean, Thomas Ben. So all of us actually played for different people here. So O'Neill was the musical director for Michael Robinson. Dean played bass with Boo Hinkson, and I played drums for Barbara Cadet. So everybody kind of we had work, and when we got back home, it was just really good because we were out for so long. And at the time, it was just something where I was able to realize, like playing all these shows, I kind of had the turnaround where I said, you know what, this is the opportune time, where we all wanted to do our own things, but as a band leader, I didn't have to break up the band. So having that opportunity to actually just focus on what I wanted to do, I didn't have anything planned for the band. We didn't decide we were going to spend like 3 months home or whatever. And I decided, you know what, I'm going to just spend some time and look into me, because on that previous contract, before coming home, I got an email from a friend just inquiring about stuff, and they're like, we just don't see you anymore. And every time I went on a ship, it was good for me musically, where I acquired all the different styles and the exposure, a lot of good experiences. But I was always lost, like I just disappear, and everybody's like, oh yeah, he's a good drummer, but yeah, I don't know where. Oh yeah, he's on the ship. So it's like, that the shifting kind of is like, what, it's not just about being home, but trying to establish myself and figure out. So I just, figure out, try to get in touch with people who would be able to guide me, and I got a massive amount of help from a very good friend of mine. He's like my big brother. His name is Brian Fraser Moore, and he's the drummer for Justin Timberlake. So he basically guided me, and I was on a path where he was leading me to actually play with Chris Brown. Nobody knows that, but that did not come through, because that's the time Chris Brown got he got
in trouble.
Yeah, for the Rihanna thing. And the talk,
that was then.
And the talk got we had to do this thing from Australia. And it was about going to Atlanta and LA for rehearsals. And, I was super exciting. That's the first time in my life I really cried tears, because, like Brian, we at this thing for like 4 to 5 months, every day on the phone, and, figuring out, I did my audition from St. Lucia. I did my audition in my bedroom. The music was sent by Adam Blackstone, and he's the musical director for Justin Timberlake, Jill Scott,
Wow.
like just everybody you could think of. Adam Blackstone is one of the musical directors up there. And that didn't work out because Chris Brown just couldn't leave the state. It was between his lawyer choosing whether he did community service or being behind bars. So obviously they're going to choose community service, which he had to do a period of time, but he couldn't leave the state. And because of that, obviously there's no way he can leave, so the tour had to be cancelled or postponed.
Right.
And I decided to come back to St. Lucia, and I did jazz with Miss Derry Williams, Miss Barbara Angade, and also I played for Miss Claudia Edwards. So it was a bit of a busy season for me to be home. And then after some sad events, our home got broken into, and like I lost everything. Like these guys stole my underwear, my deodorant, everything. Yeah, so I literally lost everything that I started, and that was a turning point for me. That's when I really decided, like, you know what, I might as well just dive into this because I'm already at zero. And I remember this song I listened by Tracy Chapman. It started from zero, got nothing to lose. I always remember Fast Car is one of my favorite songs.
Wow.
So I was like, yo, you already at a point where it's not like you have nothing, but everything that you had that made you comfortable, everything that I acquired over being on ship, saving money, getting equipment, everything, all that was taken away.
From you.
Yeah.
Wow.
From my clothes to everything.
Well, that was like a rebirth.
Yeah.
Someone. I love this story of your journey, Marvelon, and I know people want to know more because they see you on Instagram, they hear of all the endorsements, and people just think, he knocked 1, 2 drums and boom bam. There was so much hard work that happened behind the scenes.
I just got another one. I just got another endorsement day before yesterday, so I'm really happy about it. Yeah, it's a company out of New Jersey, and it's the name of the company is called Our Tom Corporation, and they make these little gels called moon gels. It's like a sticky gooey thingy. You ever see like the stuff they stick on the drums?
Yeah.
It just prevents the drums from dampening, but every sound engineer loves a drummer who can actually use that because the drums don't ring.
Okay.
And like the marketing manager was actually reading my bio, and it's been like in the pipeline for like 6 to 8 months back and forth. So
congrats. Yeah.
It's just
so many endorsements.
Let me tell you,
but
the boy
international endorsements from St. Lucia.
It's amazing. So that's endorsement number what?
Number 9.
Number 9. The boy ain't easy.
So
congratulations.
Yes.
So Rankin, how could we read up on Marvelon's story in Dazzle magazine?
You could read up on Dazzle magazine issue 17 with Marvelon, Stixx, Michelle on issue 17 on dazzlethemag.com. And please follow us on YouTube. This recording and video courtesy Underground Networks.
Yes,
right?
top thing.
Will be
10K cameras.
I understand. My son have shares in Dazzle, man. What's going on there?
So it'll be up on our YouTube channel, Dazzle the Mag. Please subscribe to us. You could see our previous interview with Andrea Allen Joseph last week. It's up right now, and all the previous ones. And once again, I'd like to thank The Way for supporting Dazzle Magazine.